before we get into this, anything? How you doing, Rob? Anything quick to say non-Bazinga Boy related?
I'm doing good. Nothing really of interest that's gonna keep our listeners wanting to listen beyond.
Okay, great content there. Let's get underway then. If we can hype them up with that. You fucking twat.
Bazinga Boys are here to speak all of their thoughts on the Big Bang Theory. Rob has an opinion, Vorn has an opinion, Pete probably has one too. But most of all, Rob has an opinion.
We're off to a rip roar one.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Vorn, and I'm a Bazinga Boy. Who are you guys?
I'm Rob,
What
and
are you
I'm
doing
a
in my
Bazinga
house?
boy, and I'm not in your house.
I'm Pete. I'm a Bazinga Boy. I'm actually in your house though, Vorn, in another room.
Yeah, I got to meet my mum. That was really fun, wasn't it?
I did. She was doing a spot of gardening. It was great. Great to see. Great to see she's still active.
What the hell's that mean? After raising me, I get it.
It would have been a hard
Still
birth.
trucking along. It was actually okay. My birth was great. Cesarean. I was too lazy to get up. I was like napping, and they're like, "Come out," and I was like, "Not today." So they had to cut me out, and then I got my revenge on that doctor by peeing all over him. So that was the start of my life.
The twist is you were 28 when you peed all over him.
And that was the start of my life. Today feels like the end of my life, to be honest. The way that episode went. Was that the worst episode yet so far?
It was it seemed like it tried less hard than the others did to be funny.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. It wasn't the most painful, but on a scale of 1 to Bazinga, it was pretty Bazinga.
It was pretty Bazinga.
It wasn't painful, but it was just boring. I
Yeah.
just felt bored. This is like the most boring episode.
It was
so far.
lazy.
Pete, do you want to tell the people
Well, even
have wasted their life listening to this what's going on?
I'll read the description that's on the DVD jacket. So that was episode 13, the Bat Jar Conjecture was the name of that episode. All that they've bothered to write is Sheldon is the MVP of guys. Oh, sorry. Sheldon is the MVP on the guys' physics bowl team. Most vain physicist. That's the description of the episode. So, long story short, the guys all take part in a physics bowl, like a question and answer session, and they
More like physics bowel, am I right?
and they realize that they're incredibly competitive. Or Sheldon's incredibly competitive, and he doesn't want to play nice with the other team, so he starts his own team and versus the other boys. Wow.
Yeah, so what you just described the episode is nothing at all like the DVD jacket promises you, right? You were getting ready, you were like, oh, I'm about to see like Sheldon kick some butt because he's going to win some stuff. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's more a lesson about him being a total cunt.
And another episode of Sheldon being an arsehole.
He doesn't learn anything by the end of it. Nothing's resolved. There's no lesson that he's learnt. He just goes about his day.
Yeah.
He just goes on being a cunt for the rest of the series.
And that's what always this.
What was the last episode about?
The previous one was the Jerusalem duality, which was the physics prodigy that comes on board, and Sheldon's jealous, and then he crushes this teen's prospects of a career in that field.
Yeah, because he's a cunt.
Yeah, because he's a cunt.
Another episode of Sheldon just being a cunt.
That's pretty much it. That's all it is. He even gets called a misogynist in this one by Leslie, who's a recurring character at this point now as well.
I was surprised the writers knew what a misogynist was. I was blown away.
So she's accusing Sheldon of being misogynistic, but it's totally fine with being on a team with Howard.
Yeah. Well, Howard got pulled up during the actual physics bowl. He got his second warning for harassing a woman in the front row.
I didn't even actually think about that. That's really smart, Rob. I didn't actually think about what wouldn't she have an issue with I'm sure he slipped something in her drink somewhere along the line. That just seems right up his alley.
Insert audience laughter.
I've got some questions about Howard this episode, by the way, as well. Do you guys have any seggies?
I've got Pete's nitpicks returning today.
Oh, I love Pete's nitpicks.
Where I focus on a tiny issue that I have with the show. So it's a obviously it's like a question and answer show. So they're getting all these questions fired at them about physics on the panel, and they have to hit a little buzzer. Sheldon complains about a Nintendo wrist injury that he sustained when he was younger, and then he wears basically a wrist brace for the rest of the episode. The bit that I'm nitpicking is like, unless he had one of those extremely rare Nintendo arcade-style controllers, it's pretty impossible to sustain that type of injury with just a normal gamepad. So,
okay. I'm gonna go against the grain and stick up for fucking Big Bang Theory here. This is what you've actually made me do. Have you're like a hipster douchebag. You play like actual NES. Those rectangle controllers actually hurt for quite, like, if you play for an extensive amount of time, they start hurting.
But I get that'd be like a hand cramp or something like that. But he's specifically got like a wrist injury. And I'm just thinking, is he like everybody's? is he like?
I forgot it was Pete Nitpicks.
That's right. Is he like everyone's mum, where every gaming system ever is just a Nintendo? Like, you know, if it's a Sega Mega Drive, it's a Nintendo. If you're going to the arcades, you're going to play Nintendo. If it's a mobile phone, it's a Nintendo.
He's too pedantic and cuntish to be like that. If you ask me, I can sort of see it.
Anyway, that was my segment.
Pete Nitpicks. I love that segment. I've got a new segment, guys. Do you want to hear what it's called?
I would love to hear the new
Hit us
segment,
with it.
Vorn.
It's called Vorn Nitpicks. So, in Vorn Nitpicks, I noticed only today that on their front door, so their door that leads out into the world, they have a dartboard on it. Who puts a dartboard on a front door? Isn't that something that, if that doesn't come into the play in the future, like Penny comes in as they're playing darts and just bursts in, door unlocked, as you've noticed in future, Pete, in the past, Pete,
Yeah.
and she just walks in,
Nitpicks.
fucking dart in the eye, hospitalization, fucking dead, like dart, like I really want an episode called like the Dart Duality Dickhead.
The dartboard paradox, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because like I've mentioned in a previous episode, they don't lock their door, even though they live in an apartment complex in like what doesn't look like a ritzy suburb in America. And so she just strolls in, you know, at random.
Like a common street walker.
Can I point to something that in this episode they've started making it like a normality in the show. It used to be every time that Penny hung out with the guys, they'd make some big deal about it. What point did that switch? What episode back were we even paying attention where suddenly she just hangs out with him because she like wants to? I know she made a joke about.
Do you remember in the past we were discussing that she's probably a horrible person because she doesn't seem to have a lot of friends outside of that core group of boys, and she's constantly putting them down whenever she is actually hanging out with them. And in this episode, it really expands on that, where she's more than willing to give up her Saturday afternoon. Because, quote, she says that she has nothing better to do to help them with their physics exam. And then she goes along and attends the actual physics bowl as well. Like, it's just so much evidence to show that she's just probably a trash person, has no friends, has nothing better to do.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, and I can see the show treating her as someone like that. Because the show writers and whoever's writing this bullshit doesn't seem to like her at all. And she really has nothing better to do with her time than hang out with Sheldon the cunt. Like,
there hasn't been
Howard the rapist.
And Raj, she doesn't want a bar of her.
Oh, well, that's something speaking about what Rob said there with when did it change? Another thing that I noticed in this episode is that they've kind of fucked themselves a bit. Where they were like, early in the season, they were like, hey, what happens if Raj just can't speak to women? And like, whenever Penny's in the room, he can't say anything. And they've gotten to the point now where they're like, Raj obviously has gone like, hey, can you give me some lines? Can we have some more scenes without Penny in it? And he obviously is fucked because he can't act when she's in the room. So he's fucked for so much of the show.
But they added a bit of in quote unquote clever exposition tonight where they explained the situations where he can talk to women.
And that's the thing. That's what I was. He accidentally spoke to her. So this is a thing that I think at this point they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna retcon it. We're gonna fix it up so he can actually speak. And I'm gonna predict by the end of the series he can talk to Penny fine. Like I don't know. Something will happen where he'll lose the like Majesty, he'll walk in on her shitting on a client, one of her prostitute clients. He'll walk in on her shitting, and he'll be like, "Oh, you're just another person like all of us," and he'll be able to speak to her again. I'm predicting that before the end of the season, he will be able to speak to her.
Yeah, and I mean, remembering back to what we've discussed before, like the original Big Bang Theory, that original pilot didn't actually have Raj or Howard there. They were just tag-on characters. So that was probably a joke they threw in early on. He couldn't talk to women. And then, oh, fuck, now we have to develop him.
What was that board meeting? Like, someone was like, we need some more rape and racism. Can we get that in there somehow?
Yeah, more Jew jokes, please.
Yeah. So I also noticed something else. This is, if you remember last episode, I talked about how much I hated what they wear, how it was probably designed and chosen by ugly children because it's just really bright, ugly colors and lots of layers. Yeah, I remember you liking that joke, Pete. Thanks for liking it. Rob,
Again.
You didn't laugh, but it's okay. You miss out on, it goes over some people's heads sometimes.
There's more an inner laugh.
Okay, so I'm going to go through here and read out what everyone's wearing in the opening scene of this episode. So Dr. Shelfman, the rapist, walked in with a black turtleneck, underneath a bright red long sleeve. Then we had Raj, who had a white patterned button-up shirt, like collared shirt, which is under a sweater, which was also under a purple jacket, bright purple jacket. We had Sheldon, who was in a purple long sleeve under like a weird Scottish pattern shirt, and then underneath a fucking jacket. And then we have Glasses Man, the main character, who was in a bright blue shirt, under a green sort of crocodile skin colored zip up hoodie, which was underneath an army jacket. Then we had Penny walk in with a spaghetti strap singlet. That's it. They're all wearing minimum 2 layers, mostly 3, all long sleeve. She walks in, tits fucking out. And I was like, that's it. That's my point proven. And that's something I want you to really notice in the future. And that was the first scene. In the episode, there's like 3 costume changes. They all change into multi-layered bullshit. She is always in something that 1 layer, rarely a bra. Like, it's too hot for even a bra this day to her, okay, apparently. And always arms, tits showing. So I
love your refusal to say Leonard's name.
Glasses
I can't remember it.
We've given just like we've given all of our like friends in real life that we refer to on this show like pseudonyms. You've also taken on board giving pseudonyms out to all of the actual cast of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Dr.
Shelfman.
Beyond Dr. Shelfman, we don't really have one because I mean Leonard's changes every week with you.
Yeah, well, it's just I'm not very good with names, Harry. So I've got another segment. It's called my old favorite's called The Big Bang Theory, and this one's about Howard, the rapist. See, I remembered his name. There you go, Dr. Shelfman. And originally it was that I noticed. Have you noticed that he always wears a turtleneck, like all the time?
Yeah, all the time. It's
Yes.
always varied bright colors, always under his t-shirt.
And I was wondering, I was thinking at the start of the episode, why is he always wearing that? And then I thought I had a theory going in my head. I was like, wait a second. He's a burns victim. And that's why he always has to cover up everything just because he has to hide his disfigured body.
He's ashamed of his body, yep.
Yes. But then what happened at the end of this episode, Pete?
Dude, it took us both by surprise. Like the physics bowl wraps up. Sheldon's team loses because of his stubbornness. The other boys win. Sex Pest, like in a very kind of 1970s rock star move, rips his shirt off in front of the crowd of hundreds to reveal that his turtleneck is only like literally the bit that covers his neck down to above his nipples. It's like a piece of fabric.
Do you have any idea why? Why would, like, in the context of the show, why would he have a weird, like, neck collar of a turtleneck and nothing else on?
Well, is this an actual item of clothing you can buy? Like, is it something that you could get, off the shelf in an American supermarket? Or
If I can, I'll wear it for the next episode, and we can screenshot away.
Okay, sweet. That's a deal.
What would you even search for?
Okay, here's a better deal. Rather than wear it for the episode, can you wear it to work one day?
just on its own? Just on its own.
When it's not 45 degrees, I will.
It's kind of, guys. You know those jackets that have the appearance of having like an extra hoodie underneath, like where it's got like the lining of the jacket stitched in and then the hood bit stitched in, but it's actually all just one piece. I think it's to achieve that same cool look of wearing a turtleneck without actually having to wear a turtleneck.
Is it too hot for a turtleneck today, but you still want to look like a douchebag poet? Yeah. We've got the answer for you.
Is your torso cold, or warm rather, and your neck cold?
Well, I have a different Big Bang theory on why he was wearing that. Because my original thought was burns victim, typical easy answer. But that threw that theory out the window. And you know what? I'm a scientist. I'm willing to have new evidence come in and change my mind and alter the theory. So, since then, I've come up with a new Big Bang theory as to why he has a turtleneck just to cover the neck, and he's always wearing a turtleneck, and it's only that bit of the turtleneck, it seems.
Drop it on us.
And my answer is, he's a heroin addict, and he's just injecting needles into his neck endlessly. And that perfectly comes into my Dr. Shelfman theory from last episode, where what was he shelving up his ass? Opiates. He's a drug mule and a drug taker, and he's got an issue, and he's a rapist. And I think that perfectly encapsulates the character of Dr. Shelfman.
I've got another little theory, I guess, on that piece of clothing. It's to cover all the defense injuries that all the people that he's attacking.
That's way better. All the fingernail scratches of all his victims.
Yeah, all the nail marks on his neck and upper torso.
Oh boy, what's happened here?
Did Pete cut out?
Pete, you cut out for a second. Can you repeat that? That was a good joke.
Oh, repeat? Because his name's Pete?
Fuck off.
Is he still there?
Well, he still exists in the world,
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure, but I can't hear him.
You missed that. My curtains just fell down and scared the shit out of me and broke my lamp. Look.
Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Everything's gone wrong in 1 second. Hey, Pete's back.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Pete.
I didn't have enough memory on my phone, so I've just, turned my iPad back on, and it seems to work. So let's see how long this lasts.
You didn't have enough memory.
What were you talking about before, Pete?
The defense wounds.
Defense wounds. That was a great joke, and it got ruined.
Yeah.
He obviously has scratches on his neck from raping people. Great joke, Pete. You delivered it really well.
Thank you. Cheers.
While we're speaking about Shelfman, has anyone since our last episode recording, has anyone had any shelving experiences?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't. Have you, Vorn?
Well, this sounds like the most set up bit ever. Fuck, I totally forgot to write down anything about this. But what I will tell you is, so I did it. Like I put a little condom full of lollies up my sphincter. And
dick hole.
I love that as you're telling this story, your mum is like a foot away in another room, probably crocheting or reading like Gardening Australia Monthly or something,
hugging the cushion with my photo of my face on it, thinking, "What a good boy."
I mean, she has sent you Viagra before, so it's not a stretch.
True. So I will say that in a show that is basically the complete opposite of the Big Bang Theory, called Breaking Bad, there is probably the high point of the whole series. There's a 2-episode back-to-back called Half Measures and Full Measures, and what the message in there is sometimes if you take a half measure, it can come back to bite you. So you should always take the full measure. So what I will explain from my experience from the weekend is that I took a half measure at one point, and I didn't fully commit to the act, and it started hurting. It was like crowning for quite a while, and I was like, this is not good. This is hurting a bit. So I went back in, and I was like, well, let's just see if it go a bit further, and then it felt great. So if you're ever in the area and you're ever in the zone of like, hey, this is what I need to do with my life, I highly recommend going 110%. Don't half-ass it. Okay,
That's
guys.
so inspirational.
Yeah.
I can see you delivering that to like primary school age children, or like support groups. Just delivering that message about life in general.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, what was your laugh count for today? Pete, I know yours.
Yeah, well, mine was a 0 because I was in the same room as you, Vorn. So,
Wait, are you saying
mine
if
was
you weren't in the same room as me, you would have laughed?
yeah, I was just keeping it all inside because I didn't want to crack under pressure. I didn't want to look like a fool in front of my good friend.
Yeah. Rob, what was your count?
Mine was definitely a 0 today. As Pete pointed out earlier, it was just like it was a very lazy, boring episode. It wasn't. Yeah, there was no attempt to add a joke. It was just every single line of dialogue was just overstuffed with unnecessary nerd references. I don't want to say humor because it's not. Like just by saying like words are glue, your words are glue and they stick and all that shit.
Yeah.
By just talking about the chemical breakdown of glue, that doesn't make it funny.
Yeah. So what I will say to you guys, so I remember early days we were laughing quite a bit. Well, you were. I don't want to lump myself into your pile of shit.
What do I have? 3 laughs?
So you guys laughed a few times, but recently, quite a few times we've come back and we said worst episode yet, or boring, or like they're not trying. And it's created some ill will in our little group here. At this point, could this show win you back? And if they could, what would they have to do to win you back?
I would like to hear someone say Bazinga.
So easy to please.
No. To win me, when you say win you back, it suggests that we were won in the first place.
We were super fans, and
True.
we've been let down recently by the reboot of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, true. Sorry. Well, is there anything they could do to win you over? Let me rephrase it.
Well, I think getting rid of every
Character
main
and the
character-
show and the producers and firing them all.
Well, I was going to say, except like keeping just the Leonard Sheldon dynamic going, because I think that's when you actually see some decent stuff from Sheldon.
Oh, you don't want
But,
Penny in there, misogynist.
I would suggest keeping Leslie around over Penny.
Okay, Pete, is there anything that could like win you over in this show? Is there anything can you see a way back for them at this point after like spending 13 episodes making you feel, oh, Pete's dead again? Fucking Pete. We've had some audio issues here. Pete's sharing a mic with me, so the audio level has decreased significantly.
Just like our spirits while we're watching that episode.
Exactly. My ear hurts. Okay, so I've got one more thing I want to ask both of you. It's basically that seizure inducing opening credit sequence. Do you know what's in what's going on in the sequence? Pete, can you explain, just for anyone who hasn't watched, what is the title sequence for Big Bang Theory?
Well, it's pretty much like, the history or the recorded history of mankind since the Big Bang Theory. Is that correct? Is that how you'd interpret it?
How do they deliver it though?
It's like a timeline with flashy images. It looks like they've taken a lot of stuff off Wikipedia or whatever, in Carter 1995 was, or whatever was around it at this show's inception.
Rob, can you describe further from a filmic perspective what?
It's it's basically 2001: A Space Odyssey sped up with the bare naked ladies singing over the top.
Well,
in Carter 95 with
Yeah.
the bare naked
So
ladies.
basically, it's like a lot of flashing images. It's like images coming at you over and over and over again, all in very low res and low quality, and it's just like
Isn't
Greek pyramids.
Isn't that like it's like the Manchurian Candidate, where it's like sleeper cells, or it's like flashing all of this subliminal messaging?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. How much attention do you pay to that every time we watch this?
Not at all. It's usually when I'm like, getting ready to jot down notes and taking my last breath of air as a free man.
You're prepping the blades.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I was just wondering. I want to go through it and see what's actually in it. I want to see if there's anything just like anyone, because no one even gives a fuck. I wonder if they snuck anything like just child porn in there, or like Nazi propaganda or anything. So that's what I'm going to be on the lookout for. Rob, I also advise you look for it before I take this podcast down a Nazi path again.
Doing a frame by frame breakdown of the intro scene.
So, are you suggesting that you've already found something, or you're going to start looking next week?
No, my eyes glazed over in the last episode, and that thing was just flashing in front of me. All that came into my mind was like, I wonder if there's any child porn in there.
Why did your brain automatically go to that?
And that's the episode for today, folks. Please check out Bazinga Boys on bazingaboys.com. I've been Vorn. I think I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything else to say?
I'm still a bit taken back by that last comment. I'm Pete.
I'm Rob, and fuck you, Vorn.
Hey, do you remember such classic catchphrases as from Home Improvement? I want that one from Little Britain, and who can forget Doe from The Simpsons? Well, now it's time for the Bazinga Boys to have a catchphrase. Give us a follow on Facebook and let us know what our catchphrase should be. Also check us out on the regular streaming services and at bazingaboys.com. Goodbye.